So you want to listen to some random guy on the internet talk about speculation about who might trade in the first round of the NFL, the 2022 NFL draft. Good, you're in the right spot. You've noticed the ASMR in the title. The ASMR that comes with this is mostly just my voice. If you are looking for other triggers, there's a plethora of such on my channel. I implore you to go check those out. If not, you are welcome to. If you do like the sound of my voice, you are in the right spot. It's gonna be a bunch of me rambling. If you like the NFL, this is great knowledge for you. Potentially, maybe, I don't know. And if you don't, then maybe you just like the sound of my voice. Who knows? Maybe you're silly like me. That being said, thank you for watching. And if you're here, because of That's Good Sports, hey. Starting on with it, the teams that I think could trade back. Well, when I initially wrote this, I had the Eagles as one of the teams that I was like a true wild card, could trade up or could trade down. Probably I thought we were more likely to trade down. And what happened was they traded back all the way to next year. And in the same process, also traded up. So it's I'm off to a hot start already. Yeah, sure. Another team that I had started was the Chiefs because they have like, how many picks do they have? That's written down. No, I don't have it written down. They have like 12, 13 picks. They have so many picks in the later rounds too. So it's not like they're front loaded or back loaded. Actually, I think they're more back loaded than anything. There's a decent amount of picks that has to start with 200 in it. So they have the ammunition to trade up in like a later round, and they also have the ammunition to trade up in the first round if they want, because they do have two first round picks, and they're 29 and 30. And they also just lost their number one receiver, obviously, and probably want to use one of those picks to try and replace that, because Juju is not Tyreek Hill, and he cannot replicate Tyreek Hill. But I don't think they brought him in there for that. The Giants have publicly said that they are willing to trade back from 5 or 7 for a proper trade back. 5 is the premium spot because you get ahead of Carolina, who might take a quarterback, and you get ahead of Atlanta and Seattle, who might take a quarterback. 7 is the same thing, except you don't get the benefit of Carolina. The Giants could stand to take a player at 5 and then trade back from 7, because if Carolina for some reason doesn't take Pickett, they're gonna take a tackle. And especially if Icky or Evan Neal is still on the board. If I'm the Giants, I take one of those two tackles, whichever one's available, or whatever one I prefer, the two that are available. And then I let Carolina do whatever they need, and then at 7, I trade back with whoever's willing to trade up with me if there's still offers, because it's possible that someone's going to trade up with Carolina to take a quarterback and get ahead of Atlanta. I don't know. The draft is crazy. The draft has a billion and a half scenarios that could all happen. It's really quite odd. That's why it's so fun. The Falcons will also probably trade back. They are rebuilding. They aren't guaranteed to trade back because it's not like, I don't think Atlanta takes himself in the way that they are like resetting, hard reset. I don't think they take it that way. I don't think they see it like that. I think if anything they see it more like, all right, we'll take the best pieces available to us, and if you give us an offer that makes sense, which is what would need to happen for a team that's like in love with a quarterback, like say the Steelers, to get ahead of Seattle to pick. So Atlanta has a premium spot that they could trade out of because, like I said, quarterback position, or even just a player that's fallen, like say for some reason Kayvon Thibodeau or Kyle Hamilton, in case somebody really likes one of those two guys, and they're still on the board miraculously. Someone might trade up for him. Buccaneers, they could trade back because they have like 5 picks this year, and yeah, they're probably gonna reset after this year because Brady's gonna become a free agent, and it seems Brady doesn't really want to be there anymore. Seems he wants to be a Dolphin, so he might end up doing that. That the same thing could be said inversely. That it's Tom Brady's last year. They should probably go all in, right? Like, get another Super Bowl. I have him, right? That's the goal of Tom Brady. That's the main drive of Tom Brady. That's why you have Tom Brady. Right? Right. Yeah. So, what does Tom Brady need? Protection. Tom Brady cannot be harassed in that pocket, or else he won't be Tom Brady. What just happened to the Buccaneers this offseason? They lost like three offensive linemen. The left guard retired early too. So I think they have to draft another left guard because they signed a left tackle who will be decent. But they need a guard, and I think they're gonna have to trade up for that guard because there's a 1 first round guard, 1 first round center, and like yes, you can play the center out of position like how the Eagles did last year with what is his name? Oh man, I can't remember his name. I cannot remember his name, but he's good. And that worked fine. But that's not gonna guarantee to work. So he's more likely to fall because center is not the easiest position. It's not as valuable per se. Like you can get away with having a bad center. You can't really get away with having a bad guard as easily. It's negotiable. They're both phenomenal, and Linderbaum is arguably a top 10 player in the class, but based on his position, he won't go that high. So I think the Buccaneers are going to have to trade up to try and grab Zion Johnson, the guard, which you'll notice I have an affinity for mocking Zion Johnson to the Buccaneers. And not mocking in like a ha-ha, mocking in like a predicting way. The Buccaneers are probably going to trade up, more likely than they are to trade back, but I could see them doing either. Then we get the Steelers. Actually, should I trade? Let's. I'm going to stick with my trend of talking about teams that trade back. The Ravens, the Patriots. They're both the Ravens and the Patriots. They always trade back. And also, but the Patriots have a chance that they could trade up too because they have late round ammo. It's not like they're lacking in picks. They have a decent amount of picks, but they're more later rounds than they are early rounds. So they can try to make their early round picks a premium pick for a guy they really want ahead of that. But they will usually trade back anyway, so it's up in the air. Another team that might trade back. The Panthers, they only have 1 pick in the first 130 picks. That's pick number 6. That's a premium spot. There's gonna be someone that falls. In the first 5 picks, there's not always, but there's usually someone who goes in there that's not really projected to. But it doesn't always happen. Like for instance, Thibodeau is probably gonna be in the top 5. Hutchinson's probably gonna be in the top 5. Sauce is probably going to be in the top 5. Neal and Icky both could be in the top 5. And Hamilton potentially. And there's also guys like Travon Walker who could be in the top 5 as well. Like, notice how I didn't say 5 names. I said more than 5 names, which means there's going to be at least one of those available at pick 6. So, someone worth trading up for. So they're probably going to trade back to somewhere probably about like pick 12. And take someone like they'll probably take a tackle at pick 12 or take Pickett at pick 12 if he's still there. Or they could go tackle because tackle is also a very large need for the Panthers. They could also trade back with someone like the Seahawks, someone who's like hey, we want to make sure we get our guy, and we have the ammunition from the Broncos trade to give you a second and a third round pick, which you don't have, and you can move back 3 spots, but we're taking the quarterback. And they might even want a different quarterback too. It's possible that the situation can go. The Seahawks call up to pick 6. Carolina's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, and they trade back, and then the Seahawks at pick 6 take Willis, and then at pick 7, Atlanta's like, oh no, that was our guy. Sorry, pick 7, the Giants are like draft like a defensive end or tackle, and then at pick 8, Atlanta goes, oh no, that was our guy, so they pass on a quarterback. So then Carolina's at pick 9, and they take Pickett. That's expert play. Obviously, that's a lot depending on if Atlanta doesn't like Pickett or if Seattle likes him enough. It's a very big thing. It's a very big situation. Not the quite right word, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. But the Panthers are probably gonna draft Pickett, but no guarantees on that one. It really depends on who was responsible for bringing Sam Darnold in. If Sam Darnold was like a Matt Rule thing, then probably not. If Sam Darnold was like the GM thing, then probably Pickett's gonna be drafted. Continuing with the teams that are likely to trade back, the Chargers. They only have 2 picks within 120. They have pick 17 and pick 79, but they have several late round picks, so they could also trade up too. But I don't necessarily expect them to trade up in the first. I expect if I expect them to trade at all, like up, I think it'll be from like pick like 79 or like something like that to pick like 60. Some jump up a little bit, but use some later rounds to do so. But that being said, I think they're also in a prime, and I mean prime, like prime spot, because when you look at who's around them, they are the peanut butter they're the peanut butter of the peanut butter sandwich, and the bread is the Eagles and the Saints. The Saints have pick 16 and 19, and the Eagles have pick 18 and 15, and the Chargers have pick 17. So right there in the middle. So the team sees the Saints and the Eagles drafted two position players, so they're like, oh no, like it's someone we were after, and then they know that like both of them are both say interested in a receiver, or both say interested in tackle, something along those lines. So then a team nervous is like, oh no, they're about to take our guy because they took the other positions. Now they're gonna take the position we want to take. We got to go up there and beat them to the pick. Pick 17 becomes very attractive, very very attractive. So they could trade back and get like a second rounder in the process of it. That's why the Chargers could trade back. The Titans could trade back. They only have 2 picks within the first 130, and that's pick 26 and 90. They could stand to gather a second round pick, but more importantly, they could stand to get picks for next year because they only have 5. And they are running into cap issues currently. So they might draft a quarterback. It's very possible they draft a quarterback at 26. If there's somebody on the board that they really, really like, I could see it happening. I don't know if they will per se. I think they want to try with Tannehill again, but I don't know. I personally would try to not do that, but I don't know how the Titans work. Like I said, mostly just need to gain picks for next year, and then potentially a second round pick for this year. That'd be nice. That's what they're trying to gain from a trade back. 26 is also not a bad spot, but not obviously as good as 17 for multiple reasons. Other teams that might trade back include the Dolphins and the Raiders. Neither of them have early draft picks. Yeah, I don't know why I wrote that down. I'm sorry. Other teams that might trade down are the Bears and the Commies. The Commanders. I don't necessarily think the Commanders will. I think the Commanders are going to stand put, but they both could stand to do so, given that they're both in like rebuilds. But I think the Commies are going to stand put. Now moving on to teams that are going to, I think are going to trade up. I mentioned the Steelers, and I'm going to loop back around to teams that could do both. Cowboys, actually no, the Eagles could trade up. Even with the CU, I don't think they will. Given that I feel like they negotiated 15 and 18 specifically for a reason, to make sure they have priority over the Saints picks. So I don't think they're going to try and trade up from that. I think the Saints are more likely to try and trade up now than the Eagles are, because like I don't even think the Saints are likely to trade up. I think they're very happy with where they are. I think they want to take a tackle. I don't think they want to take a wide receiver. Probably in that order, but I don't think it's set in stone. Probably depends on how the board falls. People want to mock them to trade up and draft Willis. I don't think they're gonna trade up, and I also don't think they're gonna draft a quarterback. I could get them. I could see them doing it. I get that. I do. But they have Taysom Hill on the roster as a tight end now. So let's consider him the fourth string quarterback. He's the fourth string quarterback. So let's work our way up. Taysom Hill at fourth string, who's a third string. Ian Book, guy they drafted last year. It's not quite this regime, but it is the same GM. And the head coach comes from the same head coach that was there prior. So up in the air. He's fairly locked in as the third string, given he was drafted in the third or second round. I think the third round last year. I think so. Might be wrong. I think third. He has not looked good. Second string, Andy Dalton, recently signed, has publicly said he's there to back up Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston's the number one quarterback. So, he did pretty good last year. It might continue to do well in that offense now. Maybe. However, when you look at that roster, it's three quarterbacks. Three quarterbacks on the roster. Most teams carry two, sometimes three. Okay. Let's just say they get rid of Ian Book. That's two quarterbacks on that roster. Do you need Andy Dalton, fringe starter, Jameis Winston, fringe starter, and new drafted quarterback, fringe starter, all competing for a starting role? Is that how you want to start your head coaching career? No, sorry. Is that how you want to revive your head coaching career? Maybe if you really like that quarterback. Like, if you really, really like that quarterback. But I don't think you trade up from the current spot you're at to go get him now. Doesn't make sense to me. So I think the Saints stay put where they're at. That was my mini Saints spiel. Cowboys could trade up. They have late round ammo. They have a closing window. And they have Jerry Jones. All things that could add up to a trade up. They also need help at interior offensive line and exterior offensive line too. They need a tackle. They need a guard. I don't know how their center situation is, but I feel like they could grab Lindy. Why not? I'm probably gonna have them trading up to try and grab Linderbaum in my next draft. That's what I'm gonna do that. I'm going to do that. Speaking of my next draft, I'm going to be doing a no trade mock draft coming out probably the next couple days. I haven't recorded it yet, but I have almost every pick written down, if not like two more left, but I think I got it all. It's obviously going to be wrong because there's going to be trades, but it kind of gives you an idea of not necessarily how the board should fall, because it's not supposed to fall like this, because like trades are going to happen, but how it could fall and how teams like what kind of ballpark they're looking for, and in their pick range where they're currently at. And then after that, I have one, at the most two, probably just one more mock draft. And it's probably even the last one until the actual draft happens. Fingers crossed I'm right. I got some ideas that are brewing, some new ones too. I got some, because there's, this is the part of the year where teams do interviews with like all the players that are supposed to be at the top of the board if they're a top pick. Even if they don't plan on drafting them, they're like, all right, let's just, I can't remember what that's called, but like they just want to make sure, they want to do their due diligence. Is that what it is? Due diligence week, something like that. So you can expect a no trade mock draft and then a full of trades, like my genuine prediction of what's gonna happen one last time mock draft. And within the next few days. Until then, we're going to keep talking about teams that might trade back and teams that might trade up. We're currently at teams that might trade up. We were mentioning the Cowboys, like to tackle, and into the offensive line as a whole. Offensive line as a whole, receiver, kind of, not really. Like, they don't really need a receiver, but Jerry Jones is the guy to draft a receiver when they don't need to. He's already proven that with CeeDee Lamb, and it's worked out in favor of him, so what's going to stop him from doing it again? Not much. Other than maybe that they've got a decent amount of contract already allocated to that position. Also, closing window, not just Dak Prescott, but Jerry Jones himself. Moving on to the 49ers, they could trade up. They don't have a first-round pick, but they could acquire one if they trade away Deebo Samuel, which is looking more and more likely by day. If I had to bet on which team I think he's going to, it makes more sense to be the Jets. Yes, that's the lowest odds for Vegas, but when you look at the reasons, it makes sense as to why. The Jets have 2 first-round picks in the top 10, 2 luxury first-round picks, is what I call them. They have pick 10 and pick 4. I think they're going to hold on to pick 4. Even if, let's say the trade does happen, I think they hold on to pick 4, and I think they give away pick 10 in like a second or third round, and then like a second round next year or something like that. I can see the Jets doing that. And so in that case, the 49ers would be at pick 10, and they'd probably be looking to replace, Deebo Samuel. So what's stopping them from taking Treylon Burks, a guy who does kind of the same role? So that's who I would have the 49ers taking, but they also could trade up into the first, or could just trade up in general, because they do have I don't actually take it back. They don't really have a closing window because they do for a new quarterback. I don't know. They could trade Garoppolo suddenly. That might happen. I don't think so. The Rams also don't have a first, but they could trade up as well. It's because that's how they operate. In terms of not they operate in terms of trading away. They trade away their first round picks, but they're an aggressive team. So if there's somebody on the board that they really think is like someone to be the heir to Aaron Donald, essentially, like, and be the dominant defensive force, then they might trade up and go get him. I don't think they will, but they might. The Broncos also don't have a first. They have 1 second-round pick. It's pick 64, which is the last pick of the second round, which is basically the best pick of the third round. They just got a new quarterback. They might want to go get another weapon, even though they have plenty of weapons now. They might get the best tight end, but they already have a decent tight end. They might get the best receivers available. They already have decent receivers. They might get the best tackle available because they could use a tackle. Then defense, edge. They're a good team. Like they're solid, just about everywhere. But they did just get Russell Wilson, so they have probably a closing window, or like at least should be aggressive to try and go win a Super Bowl. So they might trade up. The Vikings and the Seahawks and the Steelers all could trade up for the same reason, and that'd be for quarterback love affair. Any of them could love Pickett, any of them could love Willis. It's anyone's best guess as to who loves who. Like my thought process for my team, in case anybody is needing to know. If you had to guess based on the color pattern, you'd probably guess right because I'm a Falcons fan. It's a hard knock life, indeed it is. It's rough, it is pain, we're gonna move past the pain part and address that. I'm pretty smart, at least in terms of my understanding my team, my specific team. I know a good bit about other teams, but I'm not like, I can't tell you what each team runs as a 3-4 or not. I can tell you most teams, but I can't tell you every single team. But I can tell you who, with my team, what we are and what not, and who does what in this specific thing. I can do the details. The quarterback, I think my team would make the most sense to draft would be Desmond Ridder. And we haven't interviewed Desmond Ridder. So it's potential that that's worked as a smokescreen or that I just know nothing. Could be both. Now to the true wild card. The true wild card. The number one wild card. It's not the Chiefs. It's not the Bucks. It's not the Eagles. It's not the Saints. It's not the Seahawks. And it's kind of the Seahawks in terms of who they might pick, because if anyone's drafting a running back in round 1, it's the Seahawks or the Bills. But way off track. The Jets. The Jets could also trade for Deebo Samuel, but if they don't, they have pick 4 and 10. They could trade up to 1 if they really wanted to. Say, for instance, they catch wind that, say Houston at pick 3 really likes Sauce Gardner. Hey, Houston at 3 really likes Sauce Gardner. The Jets over here, they go, that's our guy. Hello, Jacksonville. Would you like pick 4? A second rounder? A third rounder? To trade back 3 spots. Jacksonville goes, throw in a second round next year. And then they go, maybe a third. And then they go, deal. So Jacksonville moves back 3 spots and gets a second rounder, a third rounder, and then another third rounder in this hypothetical scenario. Because the Jets heard that the Texans are going to take their guy, and they want to make sure they get that. They have the flexibility to do so. The Texans also had the flexibility to do so. They could trade up because they could be aggressive and get a guy they really like, or they could trade back because they are definitely in a rebuild. They have needs at every position, and it makes sense to trade back. But they have a plethora of picks. They are not lacking in the picks department. They have picks 3 and 13. In most of my mocks, I've had them trading back up into the top 10 to take another premium position because they have the picks to do so. Given they might trade back the second time after taking a premium player. Who knows? Depends. We'll see what happens. But I think the Jets are more likely to be more aggressive because I think that they are kind of looking at the roster and seeing that it's not necessarily close to being done, but it's not that far. They need another receiver, in my opinion. They need, I don't know who the tight end is. It's not Herndon. No, it's Uzama. It's not Uzama. They need maybe a guard? No. And they could use a guard. They could use a running back. Guard, running back, receiver, and then corner, I guess safety now. See, they have picks, but they're not super far away. They have players everywhere, but they could stand to upgrade at a decent amount of positions also. But they could be we need to get our guy at this position. Go get a corner, go get the defensive end, or whichever one that they think they like the most. They could do whatever they want. They could move wherever they want because they could be in a rebuild. Just like the Texans might be, just like everyone else might be. But every poverty franchise might be. But they could also trade up because they could be like, hey, we're not that far away, and hey, I'm Robert Saleh. Saleh, say it Saleh, or Saleh. I think it's Saleh. And I'm aggressive, and I'm gonna go get the guy I want. So I think the Jets are the most likely team to not just only trade up, to trade in general, but to trade up to get to the first overall spot. Now, thank you for listening to my rambles about who I think will trade up in the NFL draft, most notably the first round, and who would trade back, and who would just trade in general. I think this is coming off of a shout out from a certain That's Good Sports. And if you are a regular viewer of mine and you enjoy my sports related content, do yourself a favor and go watch his content. He is funny jester man. He is funny news anchor for sports. He's just a good guy. Even if you don't like sports, go ahead and check him out. See if you find his presentation funny. You might not. Just go check it out for me. Just do it for me. He was so gracious as to let me work on this with him. And he's obviously much larger than me, so he's doing me more of a favor than I could ever do him. But please, just go look at his channel and see if it's something you like. And for those of you that are new or from that, coming from him, hello, thank you for being here. Wow, you're this far in the video. Wow, it's incredible. I hope you enjoyed listening to some random guy on the internet talk about potential trades, because that's what you clicked on and that's what you got, right? And there was something else I wanted to say, but my brain is blanking on it. I make ASMR on my channel mostly. This is like a form of ASMR, but I mostly do role plays. Man, there is something else. Like I said, expect a no trade mock draft and then an actual trade mock draft coming up within the next less than a week. Go watch That's Good Sports. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you. Thank you.